Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports Georgia. We've got a jam-packed show for you guys today, almost at 100 subs. So welcome to the family. If you guys are brain spanking new, we're gonna head on over to our Georgia insider, Mr. Bryce Mandala. Is it Dala? I messed it up again.
Yeah. You said it right the first two times. Mandala. Yep.
All right, we're cool. All right,
A lot of people don't get that though the first try.
Yeah, I'm getting it figured out. Well, boys and girls, welcome to the show. I do want to start off with something before we dive into all this. We're going to talk Senior Bowl. We're going to talk Ryan Puglisi. See, I'm horrible with bad names. It's not just you. Crystal Balls and 2025 recruiting. But we are having a little mini inside competition with our family here at High Top Sports. We've got an Oregon channel that we started simultaneously with the Georgia channel. And obviously, there's like a little mini rivalry there with you guys. I think they have it more with you than you with them because you just kind of ran the track with them when you guys played them, but they've got Dan Lanning, an old Georgia guy. There's a little animosity there. So, I've created a competition amongst the both channels. The first to hit 1,000 gets a little prize. So just letting your dogs out there know, I know y'all are competitive. Help out one of your fellow dogs in Bryce here. So
For sure. And hey, I know this channel is primarily football coverage, but if you follow college basketball, you know that Oregon and Georgia tipped off the season this past season in Las Vegas. Oregon won by 10, I believe. So,
okay. So there's some beef there then.
They love. Apparently our athletics department loves opening up with Oregon as the first game of the season. So we got them in football in 2022. Obviously that was 49-3, absolute blowout. But yeah, they got us in basketball. And our best player from last season, Cario Oquendo, transferred to Oregon.
Well, now it's personal. Okay, that's all. Hey,
Yep.
If I'm a dog, that's all I needed to hear. Why hit the subscribe button? So, look, you tweeted out, I think, from our High Top Georgia on Twitter, blew another halftime lead there on Mike White. I'm familiar with Mike White, so.
Yep. Florida's head coach, ex-head coach.
Yeah, previous head coach. All right, man. Well, Bryce, we're going to talk again Senior Bowl first order of business here. Great showing from some of those guys out there with the lad McConkey being a big function. Talk about that.
Yeah, so a lot of Georgia's players increased their draft stock dramatically. The biggest two being Ladd McConkey and Tyke Smith. Ladd McConkey kind of gets overruled because, he's an undersized white receiver. That's just, the stereotype nowadays. But he was voted as the top wide receiver for the American team practice honors. So they kind of have like 4 practices prior to the actual game, like the American and national game. And that was voted upon by his defensive back teammates. So, if that's not huge, the most impressive thing, he's literally getting voted on by guys that he cooked. So, the write-up said exceptional route running all week, and then he had a one-handed catch that was all over social media. And then Javon Bullard, projected, early second rounder, one of our best defensive backs over the past 2 seasons. He was voted on as the best defensive back in the practices. And then Tyke Smith, who was a transfer from West Virginia, first-team All-American as a freshman in 2019, tore his ACL in the 2021 season, came back, sparingly played in 2022, and then in 2023 he was second-team All-SEC. He had 3 pass deflections in the Senior Bowl and was voted defensive MVP of the game. So. Jeez. Just a lot of honors going to Georgia guys at the Senior Bowl. And then Marcus Rosemy-Jack-Saint caught a spectacular touchdown pass from Spencer Rattler, who he obviously took home the MVP. And then long snapper William Mote and Dejan Edwards also participated in the Senior Bowl.
The long snapper getting some love. Talk about Ladd McConkey real quick.
Of course.
Skyrocket in the draft stock. I know the Panthers is a big spot. They have the second pick, a 33rd pick in the second round. Ricky Pearsall from Florida has been projected there by some people, but also now Ladd McConkey adding to what that Bryce Young, allowing him to develop that wide receiving core. And look, to me, these slot little white wide receivers have become, in a way, I always call the tight ends the pacifiers. They're becoming the pacifiers, like your Cooper Kupps. Nakuka at Los Angeles as well. Somebody that just gets open and you just toss it off to him, let him do magic. right? Just that slot guy, Kadarius Toney as well. He's kind of struggled, but that same type of that family. Obviously, I believe Edelman and those Amendola, those guys kind of really created that role in a way and made it bigger than what it was. But they are becoming the pacifiers in this league alongside tight ends as well, and their value is skyrocketing. So, look, Gator fan, but now once they go into the league, I enjoy players. They're fun to watch, and Ladd McConkey is one of those fun guys that is a blast to watch, and excited to see where he goes, man. It's going to be interesting to see. Could he creep into the first round? I don't know. We'll see how. I mean, pro day is obviously another big opportunity, and how those interviews go. I mean, I don't think anybody had him going this high in the second round probably a week ago. Maybe some of the Georgia fans, obviously did, but I don't think he was there in the early mock drafts. Pro Bowl is going to be, or the pro day is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, and when he was in high school getting recruited, obviously I wasn't following back then, but I've done some research on him in his high school days. This was a guy who just kind of slipped through the cracks. He was a hidden gem, 3-star recruit.
Always.
There's pictures of him when he committed, like just how skinny he was coming in. He just did not look like an SEC football player. You can look at like pictures of Ladd McConkey in 2020, and it's just like how much he's developed just strength wise. You could just see in his frame, just from being in the Georgia program for the past 4 years. But definitely don't think I wish he was a first rounder. I don't think he could, I guess, bump his draft stock that high, but definitely I think he was in the 4th, 5th range. I think he could definitely make a name for himself in the second round for sure. Second or third.
Absolutely. And we were talking to the beginning of the show, or before the show, we talked about it last week, how the Georgia NIL maybe isn't as established as other schools, but I also said Georgia doesn't have to necessarily be ahead because they're just a powerhouse currently. And now, again, with more production going into the NFL, and somebody like Ladd McConkey who came in looking like a teenager and now is almost going to be a close to a first-round draft pick, just shows the development that it's at there at Georgia. And it's one of those things like, look, come for the long-term investment, kind of like what KJ Bolden said. Hey, if I go get a quick bag at FSU, or I can go and focus on the real bag, which is the NFL, this is where I want to be. So continuing to dominate the Dogs as usual. Let's go on to the crystal ball that you guys landed. Just a nice little measly, easy pickup for the Dogs here. It never stops for you guys, it feels like. Crystal ball and Elijah Griffin, 6'5", 285. Talk to me.
Yeah, this is pretty much the first huge crystal ball that, Georgia has received. He is a top 3 player in the class of 2025. He is out of...
He's from Georgia.
He's from Georgia. And an interesting fact about the current 2025 recruiting class for Georgia, every single guy that they have is in the state. So that's not typically something you see. We get a lot of guys from Florida, a lot of guys from Alabama and South Carolina. Every single commit that we have, which is 5 of them, is from the state of Georgia, homegrown. And we're excited. I'm excited about this one. Just an absolute monster. And we haven't really kicked off too much into the 2025 cycle. We only have 5 commits, and we're number 8 right now, as according to 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, so he's been Fong-Bomb, which is Steve Wiltfong, which is usually a lock when you're able to get one of those in there again.
Hey, he had Caleb Downs though too, and that didn't work out.
Really, I didn't know he had Downs to you guys.
Yep, yeah, he had Caleb Downs 100%.
Wow. Well, look, to be fair, the portal is a new world, and Wiltfong's trying to get his feet wet. So I think he's learning his way into the recruiting world. To the portal world. Guys got the recruiting world dialed in. So don't hold that one against him when it comes to the recruiting world. But yeah, this is going to be another big pickup to this 2025 class. It is. We're going to get into it in just a moment. Before I do that, I don't know if you probably know this. I assume you know this. I heard this today from one of my Georgia buddies. His name is between the hedges. They're removing the hedges at the stadium. You aware of this?
Yeah, they're getting revamped. Yeah, that it was a huge thing on Twitter when there was a video. It was the first time in 30 years that there hasn't been hedges. So supposedly they're regrowing them. A lot of people were saying in the comments like, is this gonna be ready for week 1? Like, what's going on? Everyone was freaking out. But yeah, the hedges are coming back. They're just getting regrown.
Do you know why 30 years ago, like what happened for the reason the removal? I found this out too. I don't know if you know this or not.
I don't know specifically. My guess is a field storming.
No, it was a good guess. It was
Yeah, I don't know.
the 96 Olympics were during this time.
Yep, the soccer was played at Sanford Stadium.
There you
I
go.
do know that, but I didn't know that was the reason why they were removed.
And the pitch needed to be bigger, and the hedges were taking up the part of the pitch that was needed. So
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
there you go. Little fun fact for you guys. All right, let's dive into. Look, I didn't make this title up. Okay, this is a Bryce title here. All right, off to a slow start apparently for the Dogs. Kirby's helicopter not taking off like they're used to down there or up there in Georgia, and says 2025 is off to a slow start apparently with the overall 8th class average rating
I
of
I should reiterate. I mean, every single class in Kirby's tenure at Georgia has been a top 3 class starting in 2017. So I guess it's just a little weird to see a school like Penn State above Georgia. I guess that's where I'm coming from. I know that we're going to pick it up. And the reason for that being is because we only have 5 commits, whereas like a school like Notre Dame, who's number 1, I think they have 11.
They're humming.
Which is, yeah. So
13.
There's that factor. But if you look at the averages, the only average that's higher than Georgia right now is Ohio State. And Ohio State, I'm going to be honest, I thought that they were going to be on life support after that Missouri loss. They have been getting active in the portal and recruiting. I'm really surprised that Ohio State hasn't really. They've improved in the recruiting department after a pretty, I guess, to Ohio State standards, disastrous season. But the only real threat now, I believe, to Georgia in terms of recruiting, now that Nick Saban retired, is Ohio State.
LSU's off to a banger too. They've got an average rating of 94.77 with the number 1 quarterback, wide receiver, and top
Bryce
3 running.
Underwood, yeah,
and top 3 running back currently. And I don't see those guys going anywhere. That's a pretty locked in core that is going to help build the rest of that recruiting class. So LSU is going to be interesting with, again, Saban taking a step to the side. LSU's always lingered. They've always been there. But yes, Ohio State's a good one. Now, they've always recruited well in the top 3, but it felt like they were poised to take a step back in a way, and they haven't slowed down a bit. They've doubled down.
That's what I thought. After that loss to Missouri in the bowl game, I was like, is this the downfall of Ohio State? 3 straight losses against Michigan, but now with Harbaugh leaving to go to the Chargers, I don't think Michigan's going to be a threat anymore. You saw a lot of guys from. What's weird is Michigan is always they're always around like the 15 to 20 mark in recruiting, which I think is so bizarre. I don't know. I'm not sure quite what goes into them being so successful the past 3 seasons.
They build just a cult of a culture. Nobody leaves. They've got guys. I mean, they've created. In Georgia in a way has done that too. I mean, you guys don't lose much, and then when you do, it's not a lot, and you're able to go pluck what you want out of the transfer portal. Michigan, in my opinion, I don't feel like they had a lot of attrition during the entire portal cycle. And I mean, Harbaugh built a pretty incredible staff. What was your reason for leaving? They've done a good job, and I think they created a great culture there. Ohio State, in a fair way, hasn't lost too much either. But yes, Ryan Day, in my opinion, was on the ropes. You don't lose to Michigan 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
10-2 is not success in Ohio State. So they've doubled down. They put all their eggs in their basket. They've came out and said we're spending $13 million on in this collective. We're all supportive, and their average class last year, I want to say, was one of the higher ones. They just pluck talent. Like nobody's business. They've got a little pool up there in that northern hemisphere. They just
They really, their goal, I feel, is to just dominate the Midwest.
Sure.
Because guys from even like the Chicagoland area, they're not going to University of Illinois. I'm going to tell you that. They're going to Ohio State, Michigan, or they're going to the SEC. Ohio is obviously a huge state in terms of population, so I feel like they put a large emphasis on not letting guys leave there. And I'm just really surprised that Ohio State has improved in recruiting after just kind of proving the past, I would say, 5 years doing less with more. That's what I feel like Ohio State has been doing, the past half decade. Because their last national championship was 2014
Herbs.
when they had Cardale Jones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they should have gotten one in the Justin Fields era too.
For sure.
I think it was that 2020 season.
Lost
they
to T-Law.
absolutely should have.
Lost to T-Law. I think you nailed on the head. Have done less with more, right? Again, that Mizzou loss. That's doing more with less.
Yeah.
it's doing a lot more with a lot less. And I'm pretty sure both teams played. They didn't have Kyle McCord, I don't think. Ohio State did not, but they're not going to have him anyways.
They also
Marvin Harrison.
I can't remember his name. The second string quarterback that they started, he got hurt, so they were on their third stringer.
Oh, okay. So they're pretty light-handed. Okay.
Devin. Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
His name is escaping me right now. Yeah. But yeah, they didn't have Marvin Harrison, and a few of their guys hit the portal, so they were a little short-staffed, I guess.
Mizzou, in a way, has kind of been like Michigan the last few years. They haven't lost anybody. They've flown under the radar and just slowly built up, and now they're this mini little powerhouse in the SEC. We were actually talking on our main channel. Pate came out with his power rankings and put Mizzou 10th behind Auburn and A&M and Ole Miss and Oklahoma. I was like, this is maddening to me that you have put Mizzou this far back. I don't see Mizzou taking that much of a step back. Have you seen their schedule? It's like a Georgia schedule in the past. I'm just kidding, Georgia fans. Don't yell at me. It's a cakewalk.
No, it's true.
It's a cakewalk though. So it's I was shook. But speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about your big time quarterback and Ryan Puglisi, coming in from Connecticut, getting a lot of rave from the players. And you're probably wondering, how is he getting rave when they're working out? Well, because the Dogs make a bowl game every year, you were able to get some practice time in for the Orange Bowl, which is massive. Talk about that.
Yeah, so a lot of players have come out and said that Ryan Puglisi is just lighting it up at practice. One of my good friends is a equipment manager for the team, and he was there for the Orange Bowl in Miami, because what the early enrollees can do is pretty much right when their semester ends in high school, they're basically on the roster. So those early enrollees from 2024, Ellis Robinson, Ryan Puglisi, Justin Williams, all those guys were practicing with the team in Miami, and apparently he was just lighting it up. This was on the Players Lounge with Javon Bullard, Malachi Starks, just saying how talented he is. And we talked about it last show, how after Dylan Raiola committed to Georgia, Ryan Puglisi came out and said, when he was asked about his commitment, he said, "I'm committed to UGA. Nothing changes. I've committed to this school, and I'm not going anywhere." And a lot of fans, they garnered support for him because, this is the guy we want. And we were kind of talking about it before the show. He is from a little small private school in Connecticut. So it could have been one of these things where this is a guy that slipped through the cracks, and he did end up as a top 10 quarterback in the class of 2024. But I don't know if, Connecticut high schools are getting the same looks as schools in the metro Atlanta area. If he was playing the metro Atlanta area, putting up the numbers and stuff that he does, he could have been a 5-star. So
sure.
There's that factor as well. And kind of an interesting thing that I also mentioned was Ellis Robinson, our number one player in the class 2024 and number one defensive back. He's also from Connecticut. He's from New Haven, which is the town that Yale's in. I don't know how I know that, but he went to IMG, so it's a little bit different in terms of getting recognition. I mean, IMG, you're not slipping through the cracks if you go to IMG, but
the reason you're going
so
there,
this could be a scenario where Ryan Puglisi, he beats out Gunnar Stockton for the starting job in the 2025 season. That's a high possibility. And also, we don't have a guy committed in 2025 or 2026 quarterback commits. And a lot of the 5-stars are already getting taken up. George McIntyre just committed to Tennessee. He's a 5-star out of Nashville. And Bryce Underwood, number one quarterback in 2025. He's out of LSU. So, this could be a scenario. I mean, we're going way in the future here, but, I'll be graduated by the 2025 season. But It'll be interesting to see how that plays out with Puglisi and Gunnar Stockton after Carson Beck's gone.
So look, I do want to talk about the 2024 class in Puglisi, but speaking of 2025, Bryce Underwood at LSU, Julian Lewis, who was just there this weekend at Georgia, who's from Georgia,
I was going to talk about that too. Yep,
is currently committed to USC. Then you got George McIntyre, who's number 3, Tennessee. Tavion Clare committed to Ohio State. Deuce Knight, Notre Dame. Antoine Hill, it seems like it's between Florida, North Carolina, Colorado. He was committed to at one point. Akel Smith is at Oregon. He's not leaving that place. KJ Lacey to Texas. Carter Smith to Michigan. That's your top 9 quarterbacks ripped off the board. So like you just said, this could be the guy for a couple of years now. So, but for 2024, why I think Puglisi may have been Puglisi, it's a fun last name to say. It's a great last name for a quarterback too. Kind of fell underneath the radar in a sense is because this class was pretty an exciting class for quarterbacks. Again, with DJ Lagway pulled a lot of attention. Julian Sayin, obviously at Alabama, Dylan Raiola, Aaron Nolan, and Luke Cromenhook. Those were your big star-studded guys at the Elite 11 that Puglisi was also at, but nobody talked about because you've got these 5 studs. And at the time, Raiola was the leading guy at Georgia. So you kind of got yourself a little a dark night in a way with Puglisi is what it sounds like anyways.
Yeah, he was overshadowed when Dylan Raiola was, because he was supposed to come in and be obviously the number 1 guy after Carson Beck. And, number 1 player in the class. I don't know what the final rankings were, but when he committed, Raiola was the number 1 player in the class.
Sure.
So he hasn't really gotten a lot of spotlight, I guess. But by the things he's been saying in the interviews that I've seen him have is he's just a humble kid. He just wants, come in here to play football, and that's really it. So he seems like a level-headed guy.
So you want for your quarterback anyways. And again, you had such an elite class. I mean, he probably fell down the list of commits to that Georgia class. I mean, you guys always do well in the trenches.
Yeah, he was probably our 15th, 20th ranked guy. So
okay, all right.
Well, no, I mean,
maybe
I'm not trying to
honestly,
brag about that.
Maybe like 7. I gave you. Let's look. I gotta know now. 20? You had
okay,
30.
No,
you had 28.
Not 20. You're right. I'm gonna go with he was the 13th. I was kind of just ripping off random numbers. I would say he's the 13th ranked recruit that we got.
Okay, healthy guess.
That's my guess.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's pretty damn close. So yeah, 14th. So it's down there. I mean, Christopher Jones, linebacker, who was once committed to Florida for a very long time. I remember when he flipped to Georgia, it didn't even seem like that big of a deal because of your linebacker class. So imagine the 13th best player not even getting any limelight because of how great the linebacker class was. So that's what kind of Raiola was to Puglisi. So we'll see. It's an interesting one. It's a fun topic. And again, it's another advantage that Georgia has is being able to have those practices because you guys are going to ball games. You get those guys on the football field early with the staff. So
absolutely.
Well, boys, great show. Hope you guys enjoyed this one again. We got a lot of love and a lot of feedback on our very first show. The shorts are popping off again. Competition with that High Top Sports Oregon first to 1,000 subs. Let's get this bad boy rolling. Almost at 100 in a week. I think that's a pretty healthy growth in just a short amount of time.
Good start.
It's hey, kind of a slow start in Georgia standards though. Got to be honest. So
yeah,
it's a slow start.
All 3 videos as of today. I'll be putting out a lot more shorts. All 3 videos are at 2,000 views plus.
Healthy.
So thank you guys. I guess for the support right off the bat. But yeah, I'm excited.
Absolutely. Be good. Like and subscribe. Till next time, I'm Shelton. That's Bryce. We'll see you boys.